Hello, race fans around the world. Welcome to Speed Gaming here on Twitch.tv. I am Secret Hooves, and I'm happy to bring forth two people who are going to be helping commentate this wonderful showcase between our two wonderful racers, Andy and Christo Owens. It is going to be Carcat and Vitor that is going to guide you on this adventure coming up. So please sit back and enjoy. We're going to drop you off with them right now, and enjoy this wonderful Randomizer tournament opening bout.
All right. Hello, everyone. And we are very hyped today for a randomizer showcase race, Andy versus Christos Owen. It's our number 1 and I believe number 4 seed presently. This is going to be a pretty exciting high level match. And we're just about ready to get going. Our racers just need a few more seconds to get ready, and we'll be good to go momentarily.
By the way, that was Carcat, and I'm Vitorp. Behind the scenes, we have Sacred Hooves running the stream for us to make sure everything goes nice and smooth.
And let's see, our racers are completely ready to go. UK versus USA. I like that. A national tournament match for the pride of America. This is going to be spectacular. High level play that's going to be, very entertaining for all. Good showcase for the tournament. This is exactly the kind of seed everyone should be expecting to see in the tournament. It's going to be ones just like the one you're seeing today. And, hopefully that'll give everyone a fair idea. And, everyone definitely sign up for the tournament. Let's see, do we have I think we have a command, ALTTP, for the tournament. Let me just try that. Yep, we do. Link to the past randomizer tournament, March 27th. Sign up at that URL right there. And yes, of course, as always, be sure to follow the runners, Andy and Christos Owen, their Twitch names exactly as it says in the title there. And it looks like someone has not set up the runners command, but they can take care of that. They're professionals. They know what they're doing.
There you go. It's in the runner's command now. Thank you, Sacred.
It's there.
So you have any favorites for the this particular match?
Well, that's a very, very difficult question. I mean, rank-wise, Christos is the clear favorite, but I know he has not been playing much very recently. I think he's only gotten 2 or 3 races in the last month or so. So I think we're going to be seeing a fair amount of thrust from Chris's end. So I think it's going to be a much closer race than we might see in a similar matchup in the tournament. I think Chris might have a bit more of an advantage once he gets on a roll. But for here, I'm guessing that this is going to be fairly evenly matched.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I will mention to anyone who has a chance, if they still have them in their VODs, the Christos and Andy did a gauntlet of randomizer races recently where they did regular, hard, and masochist mode back to back on, I believe, did they do 9 of them in total?
We are ready to go.
Awesome.
So I'm going to start up the race. Just double check, verify racers are ready. And we're just waiting for final confirmation. Okay, Andy's ready. Chris is ready, and it looks like Andy's ready. Okay. All right, here we go.
So anyone new to Link to the Past, especially Randomizer, the game always starts the same, where you're in Link's house and you have to go through the escape to rescue Zelda and return her to the sanctuary. From that point on, the game is entirely open in your choices and decisions with where you choose to go.
And the racers are go. Are you a bad enough dude to rescue Zelda? We're going to find that out right now. Ooh, bit of a rupee start. That's going to be hopefully not too much of an awful sign.
Yeah, but Christos is doing blackjack. He has 21. He's already ahead.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Sure.
Getting called out for
Spoilers!
spoilers.
Yep, called out for spoilers. I don't know what my commentary delay is. I'll give it about 10 seconds.
Well, I think probably just a few seconds. Like right about now, I believe they just got the sword from Uncle.
Okay, yeah, so about a 3-second commentary delay is fine. Let's see what we're getting. Oh dear.
Look at that.
More. Oh dear. More money.
A full-on money seed, which means
Not know what we're going to be doing about that.
money isn't terrible in the beginning of the game. It allows you to access the bottle merchant item in Kakariko Village, which will cost you 100 rupees. It also, to complete all of the major items in this game, you need, I believe, 720 rupees to get Zora, Indapod, and the bottle item.
Yeah, also keeping in mind that there may be additional rupees required for digging in chess games that are 80 and 30 rupees respectively, adding to our total. And, you know, opening up, the routes tend to not be very diverse for the first 6 or 7 minutes. You tend
right
to
here,
just see a pretty standard escape for the
however,
most part, with just with one provision for often you want to farm bombs. You're going to be seeing them. Looks like Chris has already got a bomb. We're going to probably be expecting Andy to try farming a bomb off of guards or rats or something in the relatively near future, because he's going to need that bomb to get into the second part of escape now instead of having to double back for it later.
do you know what prize packs the blue guards are with?
Blue guards, actually all of the different colored guards, except for maybe the super red ones. But all the basic guards you see in Escape share a prize pack with the rats.
Okay.
They tend, I think it's the Hearts prize pack that they normally drop from.
Hearts and rupees, I think.
Yeah. It looks like Chris had a little bit of a hold up on the ball and chain guard there for a minute, but seems to be rapidly catching up. Both runners do indeed have bombs at this point, so we are not going to see any farming in sewers, thankfully. Give these guys just a quick run through the sewers so that we're not wasting everyone's effort and time killing rats when it's not really needed. Generally, you want to go into Kakariko with preferably at least 3 bombs, and not including the one you need to use in Escape.
Right.
So ideally, if you can get a bomb pickup, if you can end up with 4 bombs relatively early, you'll be in a reasonably strong position for the first, say, probably 10 minutes of gameplay.
Right, and then you'd want 2 more to follow up with the cave east of the dam and the ice rod cave further east of that.
Absolutely. Obviously other need for bombs later on, but usually randomizer seeds tend to be pretty generous in terms of bombs. So, not a big issue after the ice rod cave, generally, because usually once you're done with the ice rod cave and done a little bit more overworld exploration, you'll, often tend to be bomb wealthy, except in certain very bad seeds.
So we're coming up on the next chest in Escape, and it looks like it's more rupees.
Yep, it's... No, Christos' timer is not fast, they're just not quite perfectly in sync. What does it say? Direct sec? There may have been a stream resync as well, because they were more out of sync before. I think they're good now, though. And I believe Chris was having a little bit of trouble with the ball and I think he missed a slash ball and chain guard.
Interesting thing here, recently we removed the fighter shield from the starting Link. Like, Link doesn't get the fighter shield in the beginning. So part of the game is also now finding a shield, which both runners have just picked
which
up.
they have done, and they've found not the initial starting shield, so they're in a pretty good position with respect to fireballs. This is gonna mildly improve things. I mean, shields, at this level of play, shields are generally, not of the greatest value, but, having it helps more than not having it is really all it boils down to.
I found until they were removed, you didn't realize how often you'll catch an arrow on one or something of that nature.
That's very true.
And it looks like we're continuing on the money train this seed.
Yep. So far, not a lot in terms of
Well, here we have our first deviation. We have both of them still checking rupee trees, but Christos is going up to determine if he needs to kill Aghanim. An item in the lumberjack cave immediately tells you that you have to kill Aghanim, because the only way to get to it is to kill Aghanim, which will move the twin lumberjacks to a different tree and then allow you to dash boots the tree to get into the area behind.
Hey, Lobsmag, that can vary. The question was asked, how long are race runs usually? That can vary, depending on seed and runner. In terms of far extremes, I've seen runs everywhere between 58 minutes and 16 hours. Most races at this level will run between an hour and a half and 2 hours. If you get a really trolly seed, I've seen up to 2.5 with still some pretty high level play. And let's see, yes, both runners, as we saw just a few seconds ago, seem to have found the flippers. So we're not going to be seeing anyone pulling any fake flippers in this run. Fake flippers never being required for Randomizer, but is indeed allowed. Let's see, what does that say? Flagit? Flagete? I'm not sure. What is the estimated time for this run is the question. And
about 2 hours
this
at
particular
most.
one, yeah, the estimation is going to be written at 2 hours. I expect both of these runners to be finished, though, by an hour 40 or so, to be perfectly honest.
Earlier, you may have noticed Andy doing a second pull on the rupee tree and getting fairies popping out of it. Something to note, all the pull trees have a randomized set of items each seed.
Chris appears to have found the bow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Chris appears to have... Oh, Andy, yeah, you're right, it's Andy's bottom screen. Andy appears to have found... I need to switch them, because they are reversed in my multi-twitch versus the layout in the thing, and that's going to throw me off every time. Let me flip-flop them in the multi-twitch. Not do that a second time.
So the bow will give the player access to Eastern Palace immediately, half of Palace of Darkness, and is required to go up in Ganon's Tower. So it's an absolutely required item to win the game.
And it looks like Andy has also found the shovel in the well cave. Shovel, an item of pretty limited usefulness, really almost a trade quest item similar to the mushroom. In terms of game progress, really only ever required for digging up the item in the Sacred Grove. Or the Haunted Grove, I should say. And runners seem to be finding quite a bit of money and health. Sometimes from seed to seed, depending, money can be a little tight, and it looks like both racers now have the half magic upgrade, and so that's going to make a big difference for them. That's going to give us exactly what it sounds. Well, it's the opposite of what it sounds like, really. In Link to the Past, runners now have double their original magic capacity. That's going to be very useful later on, especially if they don't find a good sword. You may see them relying on things like the fire rod more heavily, especially with half magic.
Another thing to note is in Kakariko, they were both able to find a bottle, which means they will not have to return later to visit the sick kid.
Who has apparently given them both a red boomerang, it looks like.
And it
And
looks
am
like
I correct in saying that, wait, Chris's HUD does not list the bow, but I believe he got the bow.
he certainly did get the bow, I believe.
Okay.
Didn't he?
Yeah,
No, he
did
didn't.
not. No, did he not?
He skipped past the chicken house, it looks like.
Chris skipped the shit. He's going to be in very big trouble if he skipped. That's going to be a potential game changer right there if he's indeed completely missed the chicken house.
Okay, it looks like Andy got into the Haunted Grove and found a super required item for the game.
Andy has found the mirror. A item that is, I would say, absolutely required in 99% of seeds.
That's
Although I
fair.
believe there's been a rare seed or two that didn't require the mirror. It is normally absolutely mission critical.
The one way to avoid having to do or get the mirror is if the Swamp Palace is not required to enter Ganon's Tower.
Exactly. The Swamp Palace must contain no items required to get to Ganon's Tower.
And it has a lot of junk chests, so that would be really surprising.
Yeah, Swamp Palace contains, I believe, 6 viable pool items. I think it's 6.
That does sound correct.
ACM, the mirror was buried in the Haunted Grove. Or you're talking about the bow. The bow is in Chicken House. The bow is in Chicken House, and Chris has missed it. That's going to be very bad for him.
Now, I know that Christos has checked the map. I believe were all 3 Light World dungeons pendants in this seed?
I did not actually see when the map was checked. Of course, in Randomizer, we've got different, pendant and crystal configurations. A pendant can appear in any dungeon as kind of crystal, except for, obviously, like Escape and Ganon's Tower that don't have dungeon rewards. And it looks like Andy has found himself the lamp, and Chris is just about to do the same. Unless he decides to turn around and just hightail it right out of a cave, which is overwhelmingly unlikely. And there we go. Chris has got himself.
We're about to see an infamous fake flippers.
But they found the flippers, and there he goes, attempting fake flippers when he's got real flippers. Excellent work. And let's see if Chris does not the same thing. Okay, no, Andy is heading up towards. Looks like he's checking the island and heading for the hobo under the bridge, whereas Chris is going to be checking the Ice Rod Cave first. Interested to see what, real fake flippers.
So we have Christos getting 10 arrows and Andy getting a book.
Andy has found the Book of Medora. Looks like Andy is definitely pulling into an early lead here. I think that Christos is definitely showing a bit of rust from his hiatus. As I say, I expect he's going to be a lot. Oh no, see, he is coming over to the hobo now, but nonetheless, he's definitely showing the wear from his hiatus. I think when it comes time for the tournament, he's going to be a lot more competitive. And if he faces Andy again, he's almost certainly going to give him a lot harder time than he's going to give him today.
Well, and the missed bow is going to cause him a lot of problems. He'll be less likely to go after Eastern early, whereas Andy can just go there and entirely clear out that region. Whereas Christos has to think about that. If he goes there, he really can't finish the dungeon. So it might be a wasted effort.
Yeah, and it looks like, what is Andy? Andy is indeed heading straight for Eastern Palace. Whereas I expect Chris is just going to check the Sahasrara chests, and I assume just turn straight around, go do something else. I mean, he has found the Book of Medora, and he's got a fire source. If he gets an ability to lift anywhere, he'll probably want to do desert, assuming desert has a crystal. I have not actually seen which dungeons are pendants and crystals yet.
And, well, desert's also a bit risky in his condition. He doesn't have boots yet, which means he'll have to...
That is true.
Like, without boots, it's a 50-50, even with the gloves, whether or not you can complete it. No, wait. You can... Because the big key could be locked on the right side with the small key on the torch, or the big key could be on the torch.
Oh yeah, no one's getting spoiled. I'm in. People in chat, do not be concerned about spoilers. I am actually in both runners' chats. I am in both runners' chats, and I can assure you that there is no spoiling going on. You know, both Andy and Chris's chats seem to be full with nothing but people complaining about stream quality. So, nothing worrying about hints.
I really wish the magical boomerang did more.
It looks like Chris is in fact heading in the general direction of Desert Palace. Given that he doesn't exactly have a whole lot else to do right now. Although if he gets pinned in like pretty early on, he may run out of locations before having to recheck the chicken house.
That's true.
If he just gets boxed, if he gets let out into an open world too soon, then that's actually going to be worse for him. If he's sort of trapped early by his lack of a bow, it's going to force him to find that missing spot relatively quickly.
My guess is his next move will be to farm rupees. He can't really go anywhere. He has flippers. His best bet might be to just go up for the Zora item.
Yeah, and it looks like he's possibly heading in that direction. No, it looks like he's going south.
He might be going for the warp to Zora.
Yeah, he's probably taking the... Oh, he must take the water warp to Zora, in fact, because he lacks an ability to lift, doesn't he? Without being able to lift the rock next to the witch's house. Yeah, I just realized he has no choice but to take this whirlpool.
And this is a relatively inefficient route for him, mainly because
He's going in
Zora...
with so little money.
So if he doesn't find all his required items, he'll have to come back here again to get whatever the Zora item is.
Yeah, though it looks like he has located the mushroom. And so we're going to see if trading that in is worth anything, or if that's ends up being a wild goose chase, as the mushroom often is. Usually something quest critical, just often enough to troll.
Back over to Andy. He is just finishing, getting towards the end of Eastern Palace, working his way through it. The requirement for bow is strictly on the red Igors he's going to face. Beyond that, there are many ways you can kill Armos, but bow is really the only way you should.
Yeah, Armos having an unusually high defense, even for a boss, versus swords. I believe if you have no arrows at all, the entire Armos fight takes, I believe, something like 48 slashes to finish them off. It's a pretty bad situation. And in fact, spinning Armos with the fighter sword actually does less damage than slashing. Puts him in an even worse position. If they want
That's
to
a
spin
unique
that.
fact.
And we're gonna see now what Chris is now. If Chris is lucky, this is gonna be junk and not a good item, because it'll keep him focused on his missing item. But okay,
So-
he found the bomb upgrade. I expect you're right. He's probably going to farm money now, thinking he needs to find King Zora's item.
And we have Andy finished Eastern Palace and got another 20 rupee drop from Armos. Which
Did you see what if he received the which pendant or crystal he received?
I did not catch which crystal it was.
But it was a crystal indeed.
Pretty sure it was a crystal.
Okay. So, Andy, 20 minutes in with his first crystal, definitely showing a pretty strong lead. And Chris heading to Eastern without the bow. Oh dear. This is not going his way today at all. Oh, perfect. Andy got crystal number 2. That's excellent. Lihulk, it actually does matter which crystal it is, because in order to access the super bomb, which is required to get into the Pyramid of Power to see the Fat Fairy, who has 2 items for you, you need to have crystals 5 and 6 before the bomb merchant actually starts selling the big bomb. Yeah, and additionally, as ACM points out in chat, the green pendant can be shown to Sahasrara for an additional item.
Alright, so we have Andy working his way into the desert. Pretty much at this point, this is basically all he has left. Like, I don't know of many other options of places he can check other than Zora item.
Yeah, I think Chris is either about to realize or soon to realize that he's made an early mistake. Yeah, he's even commenting in his chat that he's out to a bad start.
And Andy gets a major payoff by going into desert, ends up picking up the hammer.
Yeah, that is going to be a big game changer, because as soon as with the hammer, that's going to open up several dungeons, including Palace of Darkness, Swamp Palace, Turtle Rock, as well as opening up Dark World access for him if he can find the gloves, or if he can find the gloves and the Moon Pearl.
And Ice Palace also requires the hammer.
Yes, and Ice Palace to lift that rock. Or not to lift that rock. Ice Palace to clear the pegs that block the rock that you need to lift to get to Cold Stare.
Do those things have an official name? The weird little
the living whack-a-mole pegs? I'm not really sure. And what do we have? Okay, Chris is heading for, or not Chris, Andy is heading for
Ice Cave.
Ice Cave, where, as we saw earlier, is going to have nothing at all.
And Christos is going to finish up his run of Eastern Palace.
Yeah. And there he goes. And, well, as I usually say about issues like this in Randomizer, Chris will not make this mistake ever again.
Until the next time he forgets.
Until the next time he forgets, yeah. And it looks like Andy's about to go collect the mushroom. But again, they're still both lacking really any means to progress further. Because, I mean, yes, the hammer's great to have. However, it doesn't really provide a distinct advantage this early in the game. You kind of need to get to the Dark World before the hammer becomes a real asset.
With Mirror, the hammer is a super asset if you can get to Death Mountain.
Yes, that is true then, because that will give you the ability to explore the eastern half of Death Mountain by smashing down the pegs to the east of Hera. Very good point.
But
and Andy has the mushroom.
I think at this point we're coming down to progress. They need to find the Power Glove or the Titan's Mitt to either go up to Death Mountain, or, and that would also well, they don't even have the Moon Pearl yet.
Cape or an upgraded sword would also let them progress.
Correct. They would be able to.
Without the Moon Pearl, they won't be able to progress very far.
It's a large time sink for one item.
Looking stuck. I think Chris is starting to realize he's made a mistake.
Or that he has to farm rupees because he knows there's one item he still hasn't picked up.
That's true.
Luckily, though, when they did check the trees earlier, I believe the 1 kill prize pack was 20 rupees.
Yeah.
Not the best, but...
Although Chris is very, very... He's one screen away right now from the Rupee Cave, so I expect he may take that route.
Well, he can't lift the Rupee Cave rock.
Oh, he can't lift the Rupee Cave rock. He still lacks a glove, you're right.
So
Wow.
their really only option is to farm a rupee tree at this point.
Yeah, not looking...
It would be interesting if they could get to the Tower of Hera, but they'd need Flute to get up to Death Mountain and or the gloves.
Yeah, currently they're very limited in terms of choice. Looks like Andy is heading for the Ruby Tree. I can't see what else he could possibly be doing at this stage, unless he's checking the Lumberjack item, which he may do.
I would think at this point, if you're up in the region, it would be wise to go ahead and check the Lumberjack item if you haven't before.
It looks like Yep, there he goes. He's indeed checking the Lumberjack item. And it looks like Chris is heading for the same Ruby farm.
I think both of our runners have determined that their only strategy left is to farm rupees. And hopefully, we know that there's 20...
That's true as well. It's been pointed out in chat with the Book of Medora in hand. They could both check what's in the Master Sword pedestal, though they have not done so yet.
A fair point of strategy, though. It's with 3 crystals in the light world and being this kind of stuck in the game, it means that the 3 pendants are going to be in the dark world, and it's not impossible, but highly unlikely that the Master Sword pedestal will have much of anything.
That's very true, though it looks like Andy might be going to check that.
Oh, well, we'll get to see.
And it seems Chris has realized that he is restricted to his blue rupee farming.
Or his fairy farming, as the case may be.
Or his fairy farming, if he wishes to do that.
I'm gonna have to just if the desert has pendant, then I need to look the next time. All right. It looks like Andy is checking the Master Sword pedestal.
Okay, he has found... Looks like he has found bombs there, or a 3-bomb pack.
That would be a 3-bomb pack. Triple boom.
Triple boom. And, oh wait, is Chris heading... Oh no, I thought Chris might have realized his mistake heading back to Kakariko there, but it looks like he's, It looks like he's saved and quit. Not sure what he's going for.
At this point, both racers are a little floundering for what to do.
Yeah, Andy just needs to farm a fairly small amount of money, whereas Chris has got a bit more of a problem on his hands. Now, it looks like Chris is about to try to go to the Rupee Cave without realizing he lacks gloves.
And,
nope, not.
Side point, looks like Andy is going to try something that works only if your sword has been removed. And he's learning a lesson.
Let's see what he does.
It is true that you can enter Aghanim's tower with just the hammer, but the requirement of that is that your level 1 sword has been removed from you.
That's an interesting fact. I was not even aware of that.
Yeah. You can enter with hammer without having your level 1 sword removed, or any upgraded sword, or the magic cape will let you get through, but you will still need a sword at the top of the tower to access Aghanim himself.
Yeah, that is true. It is absolutely Lucentio not in this flavor of randomizer, but in another mode called open mode where you begin without a sword. That can be actually a fairly common occurrence, though, as it was pointed out, you really can't do anything about it. Like you need a sword to slash the curtains, and there's absolutely nothing else to be done for it.
Okay, it looks like Christos
Chris-
is going to go for a different rupee farm.
Oh, sure, Chris is going for the 6 rupee basement farm.
I don't know which one of these is faster, quite frankly. They're both pretty awful.
I think Chris's method. But no, Chris, he's not just farming rupees. He is. Oh, I guess he is just farming rupees. I was wondering if he's perhaps rechecking Kakariko. But yeah, it looks like these guys are really hurting for some money right now. It's interesting to. This may potentially give Chris an advantage because he is definitely. I mean, he's technically behind, but I think he's going to be a bit more efficient.
And I would almost think that Andy's method would be slightly more efficient because he could also get drops off of enemies that are worth.
That, well, yes, assuming he gets good drops, which at least it looks like the Ravens are giving good drops today. Trede, the bow that Chris is missing is in the chicken house in Kakariko. I think Chris was a little bomb poor early on, and I do not think had the bomb to finish. Oh, is he taking damage that's the plus damage one, I think.
Yeah, it's the kill 4 things and take 1 heart of damage.
Okay.
Maybe.
It's important to be able to manipulate those packs. Uh-oh, I think some mistake was made. But yeah, it's important to be able to manipulate those packs sometimes. Because although not super common, there are situations of seeds that are very rupee poor early on, and being able to spend maybe, say, even 3 or 4 minutes farming can make a big difference. It's unfortunate that both of our runners are having such trouble finding rupees, although not quite as unfortunate as how things are looking for Chris right now with the need to have a bow, especially because, with the crystal in Eastern, there is no way to complete this seed without having the bow in your possession. So, I'm wondering if he's just going to get stuck. Well, he's going to get stuck, because once he does get the Zora item, it's going to have to be either the flute or the power glove. I can't think of what else Zora's item could possibly be besides
Could be the cape.
Power glove. But yeah, I'm sort of agreeing with the sentiment in chat that New Life is Chris is just hosed. He is in a great big deal of trouble if he does not find that bow.
Your progression items at this point would be the cape, an upgraded sword, any glove, or the flute.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty complete list.
Or the boots, actually. The boots would open up a few locations.
Or because both racers have the hammer, it's also possible to find the magic powder.
Oh, that's true. That would be another single location.
The magic powder would enable them to do that.
And while I think for a little while Andy's tree farm was doing him good, I think he gave up. And
yeah, as you can see from the difference in rupee counts, I think Chris's method is just the tiniest bit more efficient. Only because of sort of the randomish nature of enemies, they tend to spawn in slightly different places, have different things that go wrong, effectively. All right, now, let's see. It looks like Chris is going to take the Whirlpool back to Zora, because there's literally nothing else he can do right now, at all. Um, so he's got no choice. Looks like Andy's just generally re-exploring Kakariko, which
I
is
think he's
unfortunately what
collecting
Chris...
the rest of his rupees.
Yeah. Andy's learning all the different rupee spots. All right, now we're going to see the moment of truth. What exactly, yes, Chris is now heading into Zora's domain. Exactly what he's going to find. My personal prediction, I'm actually not sure. I'm really hoping we're going to see the Power Gloves here, though.
I'm angling for an upgraded sword.
Also highly possible. Now, if there's an upgraded sword there, then the pyramid is almost certainly going to have... Well, no, the pyramid will have to have another item. Plot progression required item. So here's hoping for gloves, gloves, gloves. Ooh!
And there it is.
Chris has found the golden sword.
Pretty much easy mode engaged for the rest of the sea for these two runners.
Yeah. At least they are not going to have to worry about damaging enemies. That may have been a bit of farming, but that is 500 rupees well spent for the absolute best weapon in the game. Does more damage than everything else except for silver arrows, which silver arrows are OP compared even to the golden sword, really. But the path they've got in front of them at this point is pretty clear. They need to climb Aghanim's tower, and they're going to need to see what item awaits them on the pyramid. If they're lucky, the pyramid is going to have something like, I mean, it could be boots, it could be the Power Glove or Titan's Mitt, but lots of things are possible. The flute or powder are also viable options.
I think if you're Andy, you're hoping it's the Moon Pearl, because you can pick that up, and with the items he has collected, just go immediately do pod.
That's true, and it looks like Chris's HUD does not show that he has the hammer, but I believe he does have it.
Pretty sure he has the hammer as well. Yeah. Yes.
Chris has the hammer. It's on our HUD. It's just not on Chris's interior HUD. Hopefully he realizes he indeed has it. But I mean, as we know, like usually runners can be pretty sloppy with their HUDs in a race. I know I certainly am. On the very rare occasions that I use the HUD, it was usually 10 minutes out of date.
Well, there's a point where you're so focused on what you're doing, it's just not even worth updating
it looks like the action is certainly picked up, and that's definitely something that's the case about randomizers, that you have intermixed periods of like low and high action, because you'll oftentimes find that we're gonna find item after item after item and then get stuck for a little while, and then find a bunch of items in rapid succession. At least that tends to be the experience I get overwhelming majority of the time. Not too bad in the troll department. I mean, a rupee grind is a bit unfortunate, but not too awful compared to, things that could be much, much, much worse. Like placing, well, it wouldn't matter to these runners, but for most runners, something like placing the lamp in Turtle Rock would usually be fairly unpleasant and fairly unfortunate. And although it looks like both of our runners are... although it appears as though Chris is ahead, Chris is actually a ways behind at this point.
Well, he's certainly a crystal behind, because he has to go back into Eastern.
Full crystal. Hasn't even gotten the second half of Eastern due to his lack of bow. Well, thank you, Alucard, very much. Yes, Chris is unfortunately down a crystal and a bow, due to that one tiny mistake in Kakariko.
So some special notes on the Aghanim fight that they're about to do and or doing at this exact moment. In Randomizer, it's been adjusted such that Aghanim will always give you a solid projectile to return to, like, rebound at him, reflect at him. In the normal game, the first of each cycle is the normal thing that you would reflect, and then after that, it's a 50-50 that he will
Yes, it
throw
is.
blue balls at
Perfect
you.
50-50 chance. So, Kramose, there is actually guaranteed 0 blue balls in Randomizer, as Randomizer has removed a lot of what a lot of runners would refer to as unfair RNG in favor of balanced RNG that occurs evenly to all players. So we're gonna see what and it looks like Chris has spotted the Moon Pearl, and he's going to grab that, and Andy's going to be not far behind him. Now, what that means, though, is that Andy has the potential to finish Palace of Darkness now, whereas Chris does not.
But that could
Chris
or
has
could
a
not be good.
potential chance, depending on the key layout of the dungeon. But it looks like he's going somewhere else entirely. I expect he's perhaps checking the northeast swamp cave.
That would be the most likely place for him to go, since he knows he can't finish pod.
He can't finish anything, but he is very close to that cave. And
it does look like pod.
Switching to the bomb.
Okay. It does look like pod is a crystal dungeon, but Andy seems to be doing the same thing that Christos is doing.
Let's see what Chris manages to find. Pretty impressive. So Chris and soon Andy is getting the hook shot. Let's get hype. It's not another gold sword. Swords do not downgrade. There's no concept of a item or downgrading another item. So what happens is, if you already have say if you have the tempered sword, the master sword, when you find it, will be replaced with the tempered sword, basically. If you have the golden sword, any swords, all swords will just be the golden sword when you actually collect them. Because you will never collect a lesser sword.
So here we have a interesting deviation of paths. Andy is looks like he's heading towards the haunted grove in the dark world, and Christos looks to be going to check out the Bombos tablet.
Ooh,
of which... Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, it looks like Andy has found himself an upgraded armor. So against most attacks, this is going to actually quarter the damage he takes. Although for certain things, most notably fireballs and spikes, that is not the case. Those two things do fixed damage. And Andy is very interestingly going to pick up the green rupee. Not sure what his goal is there, but
he probably feels low on. Oh, that's why he didn't do pod immediately after the pyramid.
He has no money at all, and he can't. He doesn't have enough money to do the digging game. Realistically, in Andy's position, well, having the hook shot, he has the hook shot and flippers. So even without gloves, he should be able to get to the Western Dark World by crossing. He's gonna have to jump in the water by the broken bridge. And then hook shot across the gap. And it's looking like that it. Oh, he's walking up, I think. Oh no, he has the hammer. He does not need to jump in the water because he can just flatten the peg.
Right. Also of note, both runners have everything they need to complete the Swamp Palace at this time.
And it looks like Chris is heading back to Kakariko.
Do we think Chris realized what he forgot?
Yes, Chris has indeed realized his error. He's rethought what he's been getting on about, and yep, he is going to correct this error. So this is a potential another big game changer. Chris could potentially pull back into the lead now that he's completely unstuck.
the rage of Link there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough race for Chris from here, as Andy has probably a 5 or 6 minute lead at this point, but it's certainly well within Chris's ability to pull back from this. Now that Chris has found the bow, this is a race again, and this is now far from over. Things are.
It was a full heart piece that Andy just picked up in the cave above the cemetery.
Yeah, as was pointing out in chat, if anyone could pull back from a mistake like that, it's going to be Chris. He is, as I've mentioned, the #1 ranked randomizer player. So, I mean, if he doesn't pull back, then it was likely not possible.
So, looks like Christos is going back to his favorite rupee farm. And my guess is he's doing this so he can get enough rupees to go then do pod, and then immediately mirror and take care of Eastern in the same go. That
would be a highly intelligent decision, and certainly give him a time save compared to Andy, because Andy has obviously done this in 2 paths. Well, no, because they both went there in the first place.
Right. It's the fact that Andy didn't. Well, he couldn't go there earlier. It'll allow. It's not as bad as it was if he had to actively go out of his way to go back to Eastern.
Not minimal. No, he lost moderate time. As I say, I mean, it's not minimal. Minimal would have been a minute or 2. I would say the total time loss here was far more than that. It's unfortunately a pretty bad one. I'm gonna guess, if I just had to go off the top of my head, I would say Chris, by not finding the bow when he did, lost probably roughly about 7 minutes.
You'd go with
quite a bit.
I'd go with about 4, because that's about the amount of time that it would take to do the part of the dungeon that he did.
Yep.
And the second time through, he doesn't have to check all the chests.
Yeah, and it looks like the power gloves have been located.
Ah, yes.
Andy has now received the power gloves. And that's going to give him quite a bit of range. He can now lift all the small rocks, not all the light-colored rocks, I should say, regardless of size. He should be able to lift all the light-colored rocks, and he's going to be able to. That's going to give him access to actually quite a bit, and most importantly, it is going to be. Hold on one second. Some questions coming in from the other chats. Okay. What was I saying?
It was he can lift
the
light
power
rocks.
gloves. Yeah, the power gloves are also going to give him, more importantly, the ability to use the Kakriko warp.
That's true.
Well,
actually, all of the warps.
Warp, yeah, the Kakriko, all of the warps, really, because he has the hammer now. That accesses you actually 3 or 4 overworld warps.
Everything except for the one on top of Death Mountain, right side.
Yeah, which is free access. And I see both of our runners going up to Death Mountain.
Now, you might be switched again. We have Christos going into Pod.
Yes.
And Andy is going up Death Mountain.
And we've got... Let's see, and Chris does indeed have everything he needs to fully finish Pod. Given that this is the first dungeon he's doing, I expect Chris is going to indeed check every single chest in the Palace of Darkness. It would be remarkably foolish of him not to do so. Whereas Andy is now heading to, looks like he's probably heading to either Hera or East Death Mountain. Looks like he's trying to make up his mind there for a minute. And nope, he has decided to start with East Death Mountain. And that is, I believe, going to put Andy actually even further ahead. East Death Mountain it's so rich in chests. It is so rich in chests that the chances of not finding anything is actually fairly minimal. As there are, just in the light world, 8 chests on this side of the mountain, with another 4.
I think it's
5, 6,
7. Oh no,
7.
8. You're right.
Yeah, 8 in the light side, and then 7 star on the 7 asterisk on the dark side.
If we count the going through the tunnel to the top
Yeah,
to the floating
yeah,
island.
exactly. The floating island one, which is technically, the floating island, which is technically in the light world, but can only ever be accessed to the dark world, much like the similar one in Misery Mire, or I should say the Swamp of Evil. And
A big development here.
big development here. Andy has found the Titan's Knit and the flute. He at this point has basically full access to pretty much everywhere. There are very, very few places now that Andy can't go. This has pretty much opened up the game for him to, just start doing the most efficient dungeons rather than just doing what he's being forced to do. And Chris is continuing to explore the Palace of Darkness. Palace of Darkness having a surprisingly large number of chests, but relatively few items.
Yeah, it's a lot of keys, especially in the early dungeon.
Well, we don't. Let's see. Do we have medallions required?
I believe Turtle Rock was a required.
Turtle Rock required? Is Turtle Rock a crystal dungeon? Okay. If Turtle Rock is a crystal dungeon, then yeah, we need both rods, and we need at least one medallion. Though at present, sort of unknown which of the 3 medallions we need. Obviously.
Sager, did you happen to catch the
pendants are at Misery Mire and Skull Woods? Interesting. Okay. Now with the pendant at Skull Woods, I don't expect we're going to see Skull Woods at all this run.
not unless people don't find the medallion.
Yeah. Most higher level players will not go to a pendant skull unless it is absolutely necessary. Just because it has so little item potential. And okay, it looks like Andy has found the ice rod and bombos.
It looks like a very lucrative Death Mountain.
Yeah, a very lucrative Death Mountain. 4 critical items, all of which required.
Well, he didn't need the flute. We're finding at the moment.
Well, it hasn't needed it yet. We don't. Do we know if Misery Mire? Well, if Misery Mire is crystal, then he's going to eventually. They're both going to need the flute. At that point, and it looks like they're going to. Nope, not going to Herrick quite yet. And he's going to first activate the Ether tablet. See what he can find there.
We have Christos with a pickup of the Fire Rod, which is a very good item to have at this point.
Excellent. Yeah, Fire Rod going to be absolutely critical later on for defeating Trinex. Trinex, of course, being absolutely invincible unless you have both rods to deactivate the defenses on his left and right heads. Without both fire and ice rod, there's absolutely no way to harm Trinex in any way. So, both of those rods, going to be critical later on towards their final crystal counts and getting into Ganon's Tower. Also, Fire Rod, quote-unquote required for certain chests in Ganon's Tower basement, although they're going to need that rod before getting into Ganon's Tower anyway, so it's moot. Although, in cases where that's not necessary, I think I've seen Chris and Andy both use hovering, which is allowed. Although, again, never required. Hovering is allowed, and it looks like Andy's heading down. I'm not sure. Oh, Andy lacks the boots. That's right. Neither of our runners have the boots yet. So with that, he's going to have to jump down. as he doesn't. I don't believe he has enough room to bomb jump back. Oops, and it looks like Andy might have fallen. And Chris, okay, Chris is moving into Helmasaur.
One of these, strangely, if you're not well equipped, like in NMG, kind of a killer, but with the red mail butter sword, kind of a pushover.
I agree. Especially the butter sword. I mean, it's fairly easy to dodge Helmasaur's hits, but that third phase, yeah, Golden Sword makes the entire battle trivial. Versus, you know, were you to be going into Helmasaur with, say, for example, Fighter Shield, Fighter Sword, that can be very challenging in the last phase. Okay, so Chris has his first crystal from Palace of Darkness, and as you expected, it looks like, yes, he is indeed mirroring straight back to Eastern to finish that. A highly intelligent decision, in my opinion. The natural choice, if you ask me, and the only real sensible one.
And then this will also give us an opportunity to kind of gauge the time loss that he got from this. He entered it about 40 seconds after, and the time loss is
a little tough because keeping in mind that Chris has the Palace of Darkness crystal, which Andy does not, so it's a bit murkier now because it's hard to tell because as you can tell based on their movement, Chris's movement is just the slightest bit more efficient, but that little tiny bit of difference in efficiency adds up surprisingly fast.
So looking at the time there, I'd say he lost actually only about a minute and a half, basically having to re-enter the dungeon and go back to the point where Andy would have gone up to kill Armos.
Well, that is excellent. Although, hold on a second. Andy has found the boots.
Uh-oh.
Andy has found the boots. That is a development if ever there was one. So
that'll certainly change the outcome.
Yeah, Andy finding boots well before is going to give him a distinct advantage. Things seem to be going pretty well for Andy today.
It looks like Andy's gonna swag up here.
Yeah, I believe Andy prefers to hover this gap when possible. Andy, being one of the best hoverers, it was in fact Andy who taught me to hover in the first place at GDQ, and you know, he's usually pretty consistent. I'm actually quite surprised he fell on the way back across the gap. As he usually completes that hover in both directions, and it's usually never a problem.
All right, so I'm not entirely sure the direction that Christos is going to go from here.
Andy,
for him to... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I said Andy looks like he's going for the Canaberna cave, which he's indeed doing. As you were saying, though.
Oh, so Christos has a few options. The way that Andy went up Death Mountain would be the most like chest-heavy way to go. But he might just be more interested in completing dungeons, and I think that his current like pathing in the direction he's heading, he might just go after Swamp right now.
Yeah, it looks like he's heading towards Swamp Palace. He has all the items he needs to do Swamp Palace, and knowing his playstyle, which is usually if you have the items to fully complete a dungeon, do it now. That is going to be where Chris... Yeah, that looks like that's exactly where Chris is going. Heading to the marshes now, and probably will be entering Swamp Palace momentarily.
And then we have Andy heading over to go clean up Pod.
Oh, and indeed, does Christos not have the gloves?
He did not do Dark... he did not do the Village of Outcasts.
He has not gone to the Village of Outcasts. The Village of Outcasts... had the power gloves in the chest game, which in this series requires you to hookshot across the river by the broken bridge.
In fact, that's why Christos cannot go up to Death Mountain still.
Yeah, but he actually has fairly little choice, which is unfortunate because generally Swamp Palace can, if you need to get every single item in Swamp Palace, can be a pretty bad time sink versus if you are in a full dungeon rush and you have every item you need. Swamp Palace can actually be completed only opening one chest, the one Chris just opened.
Right.
And it's possible to skip every other chest in the entire dungeon. But that's obviously not going to be the case, as he is currently missing all of medallions, the flute, the fire rod.
He has the fire rod, doesn't he?
And he's got the. It looks like the. He's got the, it's marked as the ice rod on his tracker, and I hope that's not.
Well,
That's
isn't
gonna be
he?
confusing. Yeah, he on his tracker he marked the ice rod. I don't know why.
He most certainly has the fire rod, though.
Yeah, yes, yeah. He just opened his menu. He does in fact have the fire rod, not the ice rod. And yes, because Andy found the ice rod in the hookshot cave, I believe, or was it the? No, it was the 7 chest cave. He found it on Death Mountain, at any rate.
There we go. Somewhere up there.
A pretty lucrative item location. Eastern Death Mountain probably being the most lucrative area in the game, as you are able to get, as was mentioned before. As long as you have Moon Pearl and Titan's Mitts and Hookshot, which Andy did, you can get 15 chests in about 2 minutes. Which is obviously exactly what you want in Randomizer. So you want to be getting a lot of chests in a fairly good period of time. Yeah, the HUDs on the restream are quite correct, so that's fine. I was looking at Chris's stream HUD, which is actually, now that I look at it in more detail, quite wrong.
Yeah, and he did. The ice rod was in the hookshot cave.
Yes, okay. Yes, the ice rod was indeed in the hookshot cave. Which, interestingly enough, Andy is known for doing without the hookshot. Andy frequently likes to do the hookshot cave and just hover all of those gaps. It's one of a heavy dependence on hovering is pretty typical for Andy's playstyle. He's not afraid to go over pretty long gaps if he needs to. I've even seen him tackle the central room in like that big empty room with no floor at the beginning of Turtle Rock. I've even seen Andy attempt to hover that before. Obviously, an extraordinarily difficult hover to do.
I do enjoy the
for all but the best players, but
the mire from one bridge to the other. If you get the big key, he's known to have done that more than once.
If indeed you are in full dungeon rush and find the big key on the like that half bridge that you can get to fairly early, yeah, Andy is known to hover to the left to just skip having to go back through like 3 or 4 rooms. If done correctly, can save probably a good 20 seconds, though if you miss more than about once, you're going to certainly lose time on that one.
Right.
Yeah, and as was pointed out in chat, hovering is not generally comfortable for the hands. Depending on the method of hovering, some actually, for example, the hovering method used by another runner, Super Scudge, can actually be quite painful to execute. But yeah, again, not a strat you want to use if you've got any like hand discomfort or anything like that.
So, case in point, right now, Andy has all the required items, I believe, to complete the game.
Well, wait, does Andy? No, I don't believe Andy has the ice rod yet.
Andy got ice rod on top of Death Mountain, and he just picked up
sorry,
fire
not
rod.
ice rod. Yeah, he did just pick up fire rod.
Yeah, so he has
picked up fire rod. He may be good to go.
He has every single item he will need to complete the game at this point, especially since we already know that Bombos is Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that is true. Although, he may not know that, because I don't think he's used his flute yet. So he may not know what the situation in Misery Mire is.
Mire's a pendant,
Mire's a pendant. Excellent. Okay.
so
If
he
Mire
does
is a
not.
pendant, yeah, he does not need that at all. So yeah, he should. He might realize already that he's good to go. And if that is the case, with Chris doing a long Swamp Palace, that is going to put Andy pretty much like unescapably in the lead. I don't think at this point Chris is going to be able to come back from this.
He'd pretty much have to go to Village of Outcasts, straight up to Death Mountain, and then he would have a good fighting chance at this point.
Yeah, if he did, Chris would basically have to beeline from the correct chest to the correct chest for at least the next 10 to 15 minutes, which is obviously virtually impossible.
Oh, actually, a fair point just brought to my attention. Andy does not have the red cane. I did not even think about that.
Andy lacking the cane of Samaria, whereas Chris does indeed have it. Okay, he mismarked it. Okay, there we go.
So both
Chris-
runners still in a position of at least needing one item.
Yeah. I expect you're right, Hoops. Actually, I expect you're completely right. Chris's HUD, although it's a good 10 seconds ahead of the video, is completely wrong.
Let's see, we got Andy picking up a very interesting item, completely unnecessary to these two runners, but will speed up the end game considerably.
Yeah, although neither of these runners need silver arrows at all, as no higher tier runner needs silver arrows at all. The fact remains that they do substantially speed up a lot. They do so much damage. It helps to finish up Ganon. They can 1 or 2 hit KO most bosses that aren't immune to arrows. Like even a Cold Stare Core is immune to arrows, but for the most part, Argus is toast from an arrow. Arrows will 1-hit kill Helmasaur, they'll 1-hit kill Armos, they'll 1-hit kill Landmolus, they'll 1-hit kill who else? A lot of minor enemies.
Yeah. Do we get that they'll 2-hit kill the Vitreous?
Yeah, well, we're gonna see. Okay, what's going on? Okay, Chris is... What is he doing right now? It looks like he's exploring the graveyard. I think he's trying to make his way to the... It looks like he doesn't quite remember the path, which is quite surprising, because there is a path, and I learned it from Chris in the first place.
That's interesting. I did not know about that path, but I've never been
here he goes. He's done it.
Here without anything to get around part of that path.
There we go. Yep, he's found the path. Yeah, actually, having learned that path from Chris in the first place, I'm very surprised it took him a minute with that. But that indeed is... That specific way through the graveyard is the only way to get to either of these two caves without recourse to boots or just this one cave, really, without recourse to either boots or the Titan's Mitt, generally required.
To respond to you, RKCTC or TKC, interesting. The boots do speed up your progress through the game, but I believe Karkat can give the exact number. Over a 2-hour run, it's actually not that much.
Yeah, I was wondering about that exact question a while ago, and I conferred with another runner, again, Super Scudge, and it was determined that, yeah, over a 2-hour run, you only save about 5 minutes. It's about 2 to 3 minutes per hour total. So it's certainly an advantage. It's not a huge one. It's certainly better to not have boots and make good choices than to have boots and make poor ones. That's for sure. No question there. They don't save you that much time. Although, yes, naturally, they are going to give Andy a bit of an edge. Although with Chris coming into the village of outcasts, I expect he's going to bail the minute he finds those gloves and head straight for Death Mountain if he's got any sense. He may opt to do Thieves Town, but
Knowing his playstyle, I figure he'll dip into Thieves Town
yeah,
to at least check the 4 chests. And since it's a required, he'll probably just finish it up.
it looks like he's going chests first. And yeah, now that he's here, he has the hammer. There's no sense backtracking. Yeah, he'll probably do Thieves, and it looks like Thieves Town is in fact what Andy's heading for right now. So we may actually have both runners in the same dungeon at once.
We have Thieves Town listed as Crystal 3.
Excellent. And Chris has found the power gloves. And yep, as expected, he is indeed going into Thieves Town. Sort of a natural choice at this stage. As I say, if you have the hammer and a viable way of attacking, well, a hammer is a viable way of attacking things. Really, if you've got the hammer, there's no sense not going into Thieves.
Actually, this is a great example of boots versus bootless going into here, where you can actually see.
Yeah, you can really see the difference of boots versus bootless. That is true. Wow.
And I think Andy entered the dungeon just a little bit before Christos did.
Yeah, slightly. But I mean, you can see he's only like, it's not even, it's like one screen behind.
Yeah.
But still, completely unknown where the Cane of Samaria is located. And something, let's see, yeah. That's going to be, I think, a big problem. That's the only reason why Andy is not in just skipping every single chest and in full dungeon rush right now is, just the Cane of Samaria, absolutely positively required unless you're Malibu Ken or some other runner who can hover 70 tiles in a row. Absolutely required for Turtle Rock, and actually legitimately absolutely required for anyone in Misery Mire. And certain parts of Ganon's Tower basement, where it's just absolutely not possible to proceed without the red cane. Okay, both runners now in the upstairs area. Of course, in Blind's dungeon, there's a bit of an unusual objective. You have to bomb out part of the floor in order to get the light to shine down into the next level. The light being Blind's weakness that forces him to her to transform into her monster form.
So is it deterministic that Blind is it always referenced? Because I understand there's the maiden, but Blind usually is.
I Blind is often referred to as male. I honestly have no idea. Don't suppose it matters. Well, they're not even any like. It doesn't. I don't think Blind has a gender. He's a monster.
That's fair.
He's a unique monster, so I don't think there's no other unique blind monsters for him to reproduce with. So gender's not really well defined when there's only one of a species.
On Andy, we see a tactical dungeon map check.
Pulling out the pro map strats. Force to be reckoned with. And Chris has now picked up the maiden as well. Looks like he's gonna check the chest, although unlike Andy, Chris obviously does not have the Pegasus boots, so it's gonna put him at a little bit of a disadvantage. And Blind delivering his signature randomizer pun. Good value, these. Blind, of course, being where all of the dad jokes for for randomizer get put for all the text changes. It looks like Chris actually paused for a minute there to read it through. It's worthwhile humor.
So Blind is one of the few completely scripted fights, completely scripted boss fights. If you go in and do the same, like, if you go in and do the exact same thing, Blind will do the exact same thing every single time.
Exactly, and it looks like Andy's coming up on the digging game. Interesting if he's gonna find anything at the digging game. Really curious to see how that turns out.
Certainly finding all the rupees.
Quite a bit of money. Wow, 4 red rupees in a row. Paid for. Oh, okay. Andy has found the powder. Powder, of course, being useful for turning bunny beams and anti-fairies into regular fairies, which becomes very useful in later dungeons like Turtle Rock or Ganon's Tower that are loaded with anti-fairies. And of course, it has the other immediate use of being able to use it to wake the magic bat that lives under the smithery, which will enable him to access another item. Andy being within arm's reach of 3 distinct items on this one screen. Effectively, he's going to be doing the peg cave, and then very clearly afterwards, he's going to be either returning the frog or waking the magic bat.
Now, of note, the peg cave with boots is one of the reasons that, I mean, that's a huge time save.
Oh, yeah.
That Andy's going to get from that alone.
Well, also, believe it or not, the being able to hammer dash those pegs is actually that screen specifically, those pegs specifically, is actually one of the primary reasons that a randomizer uses the Japanese 1.0 ROM. Of course, originally when randomizer was being set up by Desirect, it was decided that item dashes were going to be in the game, and so he chose to start the randomizer project with the JP 1.0 ROM, which we still use today.
I'm actually
and that
happy.
is specifically for all the speed gaming glitches, namely item dashing, though other things as well, certainly.
I believe
namely item dashing.
The fake flippers are only in the JP 1.0.
Fake flippers, spin speed, hook speed. Couple things.
Some of the item dashes are just great, though. Flute dashing when you're bored.
Flute dashing when you're bored. Net dashing for a little bit of swag.
That's true. You can capture the fairy on top of Death Mountain with a net dash.
Or obviously cane dashing in Turtle Rock. That last room with the 1,000 pegs that go up and down in different levels is just sort of a maze. You know, being able to do that room in about 3 seconds if you have the Cane of Samaria.
There's also a swag Cane of Samaria dash that you can do. I believe you end up placing it and kicking it across the room.
Yes, in the Chomp room.
Yeah.
Yeah, seen a number of runners use that. And it looks like Chris has gone into the wrong... oh, no, he's not. He is mirroring that block out of his way.
Yes, that's another... Is that JP 1.0? Is mirror
yeah, block erase. Block erase is indeed a J.1.0 glitch. As is being able, I believe, to... I'm not sure. I think you can still hook shot through them.
So I have a feeling we're going to see Christos, after he collects the items in the upstairs here, do a bomb jump to save time across the top.
There he goes. He's finding all of his missing items now with the flute and mitts in Chris's possession. He's now got pretty much universal access as well. And yep, he's indeed taking the bomb jump as expected.
That is
And there
a
we go.
huge time save on the top of the mountain there that you don't have to drop back down and climb back up.
Saves, I would probably 15 to 20 seconds. Possibly, while he doesn't, keeping in mind, Chris also lacks boots, so he's saving even more time, really.
That's true. And it looks like he's heading over to Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I think what Chris is going to do is I think he's going to head over to Turtle Rock to check what the medallion is. Then after that, I expect he's going to go to the Hookshot Cave, and then work his way back down from the top, slightly faster than coming up from the bottom. Saves only 5 to 10 seconds, but it's a little bit.
I guess also if he happened to have the right medallion, he could have opened Turtle Rock right then.
Yes, which would have saved him a couple seconds later in the race. And yeah, it looks like he's about to come up on his missing ice rod, and probably going to get very confused when he tries to click it in his HUD and finds that it's already been clicked.
Now he has all of the clues. He is.
What I'm actually wondering, out of curiosity, is if Chris realizes he does not have the Cane of Samaria, because with his HUD currently in an incorrect state, he may mistakenly believe that he actually has it, which would obviously be quite a problem, though. If he goes to Turtle Rock, something he'll notice immediately, as it's only possible to enter the first room without the cane in your possession. Oh, yes. He indeed has removed the Cane of Samaria from his internal HUD, so he is aware, actually, that he does not have the cane.
And after the long walk through Spiral Cave, he'll pick up the boots at 1 hour and 20 minutes in. Do we know what time Andy picked up the boots?
Ooh, it was... I think... Yeah. I was going to say it's right around the 1 hour mark when Andy got his boots.
Now, this is an interesting thing. I don't think Christos, it looks like he's running to the top of Death Mountain. I don't think he's even going to bother with the cape.
Yeah, he knows he doesn't need it. Yeah, he's completely skipping the cape. He knows he doesn't need it. It doesn't benefit him at all to have. So there's a little bit of time saved.
We got somebody in chat saying that it's Saha Shra La. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Shovel Nose. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, always amusing to watch the randomizer credits where Sahasrala's name is, of course, spelled differently every single time. I don't think I've ever seen his name spelled the same way twice in any two randomizer seats.
It's a limited pool, but it is a large pool.
I would say it must be a fairly large pool if it's limited, because I think last time the game referred to him as Sandwich. Which...
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's interesting, the routing choices coming up. I'm not sure what Chris is gonna do after this. Lacking the red cane, he has to leave the mountain. He can't get into Turtle Rock without his red cane. I expect he may perhaps he's got the flute. He may attempt to go to Meyer and check for the cane. If not, maybe more overworld exploration.
My guess is he'll immediately do the 3 chests near Meyer, the 2 on the left and the 1 in Desert by the...
Yeah, those are 3 quickly accessible, easy to get to chests.
On top of that, he also needs to still do Desert? Was Desert required? Maybe Desert wasn't. Okay. So he has Ice Palace and Turtle Rock.
Okay, yeah, then we may see Chris go straight to Ice Palace.
I would think since both runners can complete Ice Palace, that's probably where they'll
Yeah,
both
they
head.
have. Let's see. They've got hammer. They've got a flame weapon. Uh, and for convenience purposes, although not strictly necessary, it sometimes, well, it often helps to have hookshot, as it both, I mean, when you don't have golden sword, hookshot, of course, one-hit KOs the penguins, which do a surprisingly large amount of damage.
Right. So I think at the moment, both runners are almost equal in place.
Yeah, Chris's his movement has been very efficient.
Technically ahead is Christos, but that's about to get evened up as soon as Andy finishes that. Wow, I can't think of his name. We'll say the Swamp Palace boss.
Oh yes, Argus.
Argus, thank you. With
Finishing off
3
Argus
R's.
right now. All right, and Argus is down, and Argus dropping the big key, which is a bit unfortunate. With Argus dropping the big key, of course, that means if they want to check the big chest in Swamp Palace, they have to essentially go to the center of the dungeon again, redoing the first third of the dungeon or so. But if that was a map or a compass, which I guess it must have been, because Andy's just leaving, and it looks like he's heading straight for Ice Palace.
Well, now I'm not sure where he's headed.
No, he's changing directions. Yeah, I'm not sure where he's going either then. But yeah, both runners are more like they're very close. It is pretty much race to the Cane of Samaria at this point.
I think Andy is going for a rush up to Catfish.
That's possible.
Catfish being one of the most out-of-the-way chests in the game.
Very inconvenient to check, but, you know, as lucrative as any other spot. I've certainly seen mission-critical items there on multiple occasions. But yeah, for the question in chat, all of those extra swords are just lower level swords that you found after the butter sword, but you're just not going to get those lower level swords because, as was mentioned, Randomizer does not do down. It looks like Chris just went to the grave cave, and he's now, he's probably heading back for the Dark World. He doesn't have much else to do around here.
He didn't pick up Magic Bat earlier, I don't believe. So that looks like that's where he's headed right now.
And Andy finding a bottle at the Catfish.
Well, that's
not going to help him very much, as Andy is generally not one to use potions. Yeah, they've got the same items and the same crystals. They are effectively neck and neck. Chris has pulled back, but they absolutely need to find the Cane of they need to find the Cane of Samaria. It's effectively whoever finds the Cane of Samaria first is going to likely be our winner. But yeah, Chris making an excellent comeback.
And it's not possible. A side note, that the Cane of Samaria could be hidden in Dungeon 7, but that's entirely impossible due to the fact that you need Cane of Samaria to get anywhere in that dungeon.
It could potentially be hidden in any of the other dungeons, including Misery Mire, as Misery Mire having all of its item locations, except for the boss drop itself, being before the part where the cane is required.
It's also the traditional dungeon where you would find the cane.
Yes, indeed. And it's interesting, it being the traditional dungeon where you find the cane, actually finding the cane there in Randomizer is usually considered a troll. Despite being the default location, it's considered a relatively poor one. And as you mentioned, yes, Chris is indeed going to check those two chests in the Swamp of Evil at any rate.
He may actually at this point dip into the dungeon as well. It's not really a high payoff choice because there's only 2 possible items, and if Vitreous has one, you're really just, it's a lot of time sunk for a non-pending dungeon when ice is still available. Or a non-crystal dungeon.
And let's see, I think Andy already checked the Mire War. I think Chris might be a little too far to the... Oh no, he's just there. I thought he was going to materialize on top of that rock.
He's dipping back into the warp, though.
Yeah. Well, he may be moving that warp just to get to the other side of the desert, or he may actually be going into Mire. Yeah, it looks like he's gonna go into desert, in the side entrance. That particular entrance being the ideal entrance to enter desert from, because it allows you to go to the west half of the dungeon and then mirror back to the east half, allowing very quick access to the second part of the dungeon without having to do any real backtracking. As long as you have the mirror, which you need the mirror to get up there from the outside in the first place if you're not passing through the dungeon to begin with.
Correct.
And Andy digging further into Ice Palace, finding health, but still missing the Cane of Samaria. So I'm expecting Andy's going to do the full long Ice Palace.
Until he at least finds 3 items, in which case he'll just go for the end.
Oh, of course. If he does in fact find the cane at any point, let's see. Let's watch it. Andy hover, see if he can save time crossing that gap, and he makes it. That hover, a not at all unsubstantial time save. That little tiny short hover actually able to save you, a full minute in many cases. It certainly makes this. Oh, and that chest had the big key.
That was a big time save.
That hover then becomes a substantial time save that Andy's going to have over Chris, who can hover, but usually chooses not to. Preferring Chris is generally a fan of bomb jumps.
Chris going for a different strat, it seems.
Okay, yeah, Chris is heading for the
Skull Woods.
He's heading for Skull Woods. Such an interesting, strange choice. I wasn't expecting to see any Skull Woods today, unless, of course, it has a critical. I mean, if it has Arcane of Samaria in it, then all the better for Chris. I expect this is some YOLO strategy from Chris, being like, let's do something that Andy wouldn't do. Therefore, if it pays off, I can make up all this lost time. Is what I expect his motivation is here. The traditional quote-unquote correct choice at this stage would certainly be Ice Palace, but Chris is not the #1 ranked randomizer player for no reason. These are the kind of risks that can make or break races. It's definitely randomizer at the higher levels becomes a game of calculated risks. There's no question about that. Interestingly, Chris choosing to pull the statues. Well, no, not interesting.
He has no choice.
He has no choice. He lacks the red cane.
And it looks like, yep, an immediate
not anymore.
payoff.
Okay,
Wow.
Now that's a big deal. Chris pulls well into the lead. I expect Andy's not going to check Skullwoods for some time. That also means Chris can now do a super fast Ice Palace. He can do... okay, he's fluting away. That's very strange. Not sure where he's going. Having just left Skullwoods, not sure
He's
what
going
his
straight
motivation...
for ice, but he knows he has all the items. He's done.
Yeah.
And oddly enough...
He knows he's got the items. He'll be doing... Well, why is he going back into Skullwoods?
No, that's Andy
Oh,
is
that's
going into Skullwoods.
Andy Skullwoods. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, and the thing is, though, Chris is going to be able to do this Ice Palace remarkably fast. Because he'll be able to take the NMG route through Ice Palace, which collects nothing.
It just goes straight for...
Perfect, he doesn't need it. It's just straight through. You do the Ice Palace bomb jump, and you just basically skip straight to the end. That's gonna stop. That's gonna stop him from having to check any of ice, and that's gonna save. That's gonna save several minutes.
So the play from Andy going into Skullwoods next makes a lot of sense. It's a quick dungeon to check a few items in, versus going into Mire, which requires a lot more movement to get to any chest in the first place.
Yeah, Skullwoods, of course, being a remarkably short dungeon, and in fact, if you go into Skullwoods, with the requirement of finishing it, as it having crystal, if you have all the items you need, Skullwoods is actually the fastest dungeon to do in Dungeon Rush. The whole dungeon in completeness can be done in, I think, like 2 minutes or something. It's very fast.
I believe that. It's you go through 3 rooms and then you go straight for the boss.
Looks like Andy's coming up on the Cane of Samaria, and there we go. Andy gets the cane, and so he is in fact going to be
Straight heading for Turtle Rock
yeah,
at this point.
now, having made that choice, actually Andy is sort of pulled back into the lead.
Yep. If he would have gone anywhere else first, Christos would be.
Had Andy done literally anything else, had he made any other choice at all, it would have been a big advantage to Chris. But Andy made the right choice, and he is now back firmly in the lead, heading up to. I mean, it's not actually quite that firmly in the lead, considering Chris is about to get his crystal. You see how remarkably fast Chris did his Ice Palace.
Oh
He's
no,
been
yeah,
in there for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and if Andy has a bad G tower or dies even once, although that's quite unlikely with Red Mail.
and as many hearts as he has.
Yeah, Chris is. If Andy makes a mistake, because Chris is right on his heels, I would say Chris is 1.5 to 2 minutes behind right now.
I think the biggest opportunities for something bad to happen would be Turtle Rock. The big key chest can potentially have a key in it, and if there is a key in it, and either racer fails to get that key and doesn't have an extra key, that could be the big difference. Also, the placement of Big Key in Ganon's Tower will be a world of what happens.
In fact, the placement of Big Key in Ganon's Tower. Now, Andy, okay, if the Big Key is in the right Ganon's Tower, I'm gonna say probably Andy is gonna take it. If the Big Key is in left Ganon's Tower, it's gonna probably be Chris. Chris taking a more traditional approach, doing the 2 easy to access right chests and then doing the left half of the dungeon. Whereas Andy, I've noticed, tends to, even though it's technically, less efficient, Andy's a bit more of a risk taker, whereas Chris is more formulaic with his playstyle. So Andy may opt for right basement, and if it pays off, that will certainly give him an advantage. Although he likely knows he's in the lead, and when you know you're in the lead, you tend not to want to take particularly risky strats. So in this particular instance, Andy may well just take the left basement as well.
I have a feeling we have Christos missing the Turtle Rock Bombos hit. That's going to cost him a few seconds.
It looks like he missed the activation point. I think he was just a pixel or two too high. Of course, you do not have to move. Andy having a little bit of
having trouble in the chain chomp room.
The chomp room, though, in no real danger given the fact he has red.
I think it's more a time loss, and plus those things still hit hard for Red Mail.
Chomp's surprisingly strong.
So
at this point, Chris is 3 rooms behind. At this, he's caught quite up. He is 3 rooms behind, which means this race is likely to be decided entirely in Ganon's Tower.
and given where the big key was placed, neither racer is going to get the chest that normally is big key, meaning they can steal the extra key and not have to worry about checking the big chest at all.
Yeah, of course. Whether we're gonna see what they're going to check, but yeah, this dungeon appears to be front loaded with keys. I mean, big chest. There are later keys because you need 2 keys near the end.
You need 1 key to get through the roller room and 1 key downstairs right after the laser bridge. So what Andy is doing right now is actually not saving him time.
Well, now he seems to be stuck.
Pro strat from Christos.
There we go. Ah, there we go. Yes. Like to see. I love to see the dash in the chomp rooms where you kick the block up. It's always fun to see some Mario blocks get kicked. It's pretty swag and it's pretty uncommon. But I mean, as we can see, Andy's about a floor ahead.
Yeah.
Chris being effectively directly above him, more or less.
So this race really is going to come down to what happens in Ganon's Tower.
Yeah. And especially Ganon's Tower basement. If Andy chooses well and finds the big key before Chris, I doubt Chris will be able to catch up.
And looks like Andy is going to, try for a 0 cycle Trinex,
which he does get, taking the so-called backdoor strats, which permit you to hit Trinex's 2 side heads, weaken them and destroy them from behind. In this good, he got no, as was pointed out in chat, no lunges. And Chris skipping the roller room correctly, not making the same mistake Andy did in getting unnecessary chests. Especially considering how Andy got stuck. That's just another 4 or 5 seconds gained, which is, that's the thing about a very efficient player like Chris. Even if he gets behind, he makes it back up in small amounts constantly. His movement is very efficient, and even if you're ahead, sometimes by a lot, But I mean, Andy is Andy's pretty solid himself, and he may be moving just a little bit too fast for Chris's slightly higher speed to make a difference at this point.
We'll see Christos go for the same 0 cycle.
Looks like, yep.
And he does not get the 0 cycle.
Okay. He gets the first, the ice head extends, which is unfortunate, but okay. Andy already finding a small key in Ganon's Tower basement. And Andy, it looks like Andy's going for left side. Andy knows he's ahead. Andy knows he's ahead. He's making the safe choice of going for left side. Statistically, the better choice by far.
And we have Christos is a full 1.5 minutes behind Andy right now.
Okay. Although a full 1.5 minutes, that could also be, if Andy has any issue of any kind with Ganon, like controller problem or something, that's going to be the difference.
There is that.
Any problems with Ganon can lose you easily more than that.
He also needs to. Christos will have to worry about making up the time that Andy can make hovering Moldorm.
That's true.
Pretty on today.
Although if Andy might not take the Moldorm to hover, as it can you know, it can be a bit costly if you do in that fact fall, despite it being the easiest hover in the game.
Blue Siendo, you mentioned that Ganon teleporting problem. In Randomizer, all of the teleportation phase of Ganon has been removed, essentially to be 100% that he will not teleport randomly.
Yeah, he will not do bonus random teleports. He does only those teleports required to keep the mechanics of the battle the same. And it looks like neither is going for East Side. Chris, interestingly, taking the heart piece, for the bonk item you normally sit. And Andy's got the big key.
So left
Andy
side is the right way.
Yep. Both runners making the statistically intelligent choice to do exactly what they did, which is start on the right and work left.
All right, I'll be right back in like 5 seconds.
Absolutely. And so now we have Andy climbing the tower, coming up to Mimics 1 and 2. Having silver arrows, of course, you can clear this area out very quickly, as the Mimics only take 1 silver arrow instead of 2 wooden arrows. And with Andy now in the upstairs of Ganon's tower, I think that may be it. But as was said before, you know, anything could happen when it comes to Ganon. Even the best of I've seen the best runners in the world fall. It happens. It happens all the time. But at this point, I mean, Chris is going to be right on top of the big key momentarily. Andy, no, he's still only a minute and 20 seconds or something like that behind. So he's certainly not losing time. And who knows, if Chris manages to eat just a little bit more at Andy's lead, this whole race may in fact be decided by Ganon. It's a bit unfortunate for Chris with his early mistake. Had he found the bow early on, it would have been almost certain victory for Chris.
Given the way the 2 racers have been running, I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. Had Chris found the bow early, he would have had this in the bag. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So we now have him pretty hot on Andy's trail.
So chances of Andy doing a hover at Moldorm 2?
I don't think he's going to do it. He knows Chris doesn't like doing it. So he knows he's not going to lose time against Chris if he doesn't do it. And it has also the advantage, Chris having a little bit of trouble in the Mimic's room. Ooh dear, Andy almost falling.
Andy having a little bit of trouble in the fire room.
Torch room, yeah, wow. Gonna pick up some magic. I don't think Andy's gonna do the hover. He knows Chris doesn't like doing it. I mean, Chris can do it. I've seen him do it.
I guess the question is then, does Chris go for the hover?
He's not a big fan of hovering. I don't think he's going to. I don't think we're gonna see the Moldorm 2 hover from either racer, but we might see it from Andy. We're gonna find out.
Moment of truth.
Is he going for it? Yes, he is. He's going for the Moldorm 2 hover, and he did not fall. Okay, I think that might seal it. Because he's coming up onto Aghanim too. He's gonna be in there in 10 seconds.
With silver arrows at hand,
Yeah, with silver arrows at hand, it's pretty hard to fall Ganon. Silver arrows, red mail, gold sword, and about a minute and a half ahead. As long as Andy just keeps the course, plays safe, he's got this. Ooh, a very nice triple.
Yeah, the first triple.
Pretty bad pattern.
Although I don't know if it counted all the hits.
I'm not sure either. No, it did not. In fact, all 3 of those hits may have counted as a single, and that's very unfortunate. Yeah, It was hard to tell from looking, but yeah, it looks like that early triple, in fact, did not count, which is a bit unfortunate.
So
And
we
we have
have. Oh, go ahead.
Chris coming into the torch room while Andy heads into cannon.
We have some fun text from Ganon today.
What do we have? Ah, we have the Weetabix breakfast ad Ganon text today. Excellent. Always good to see. Andy already in the second phase of Ganon. Going to be in the third phase of Ganon in a few seconds. Okay, Andy's actually already in the third phase, just waiting for the second phase to end. All right. Chris coming into Moldorm 2. Not expecting him to hover.
Oh, he started to. He was thinking about it.
Okay, yeah, it looks like he was going to, and then Moldorm was too close. It was too. He would have lost far too much time. But it looks like Andy's got it. He just needs one. Oh, there we go. Okay, he's got the final arrow.
So we're gonna have.
Just waiting. There's no GG till he walks in the door. Okay, no GG till he walks in the door. Come now.
151.26.
All right, there we go.
Complete with a proper GG.
Proper GG, Andy. And Andy finishes with the official race time of 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 27 seconds. And an official GG from the Triforce. That's how you know it's real.
So we got Christos defeating Aghanim 2.
So with a great Aghanim 2. I believe that was 2 triples.
I think it was a total of 3 cycles. I don't.
Was it a 3 cycle? Okay.
I think the second cycle he missed one of them. I could have been wrong on that.
Well, we got Chris coming into Ganon. Shouldn't be long now. New Life, the Cane of Samaria was in the big key chest in Skullwoods. An unfortunate place for the Cane of Samaria to be, if I may say so. All right, here we go with
Yeah, with Buttersword, this fight is kind of.
It's kind of Ganon is a bit of a joke if you have the gold sword. There's nothing really to the battle. You just kind of walk up to it and slash.
It's 6 slashes in the first 2 phases, and then you have the obligatory 4 slashes.
Chris getting a fire bat circle in the third phase, which can happen if you don't hit Ganon quite fast enough. It's especially short on the first hit.
And we have him. Oh, nope, not getting the.
That's not getting torch glitch, although with silver arrows, torch glitch not really strictly useful. I mean, it saves magic certainly, but torch glitch is, it becomes more of an issue not getting it if you're going to be doing tempered Ganon. Obviously far more arduous when you have to deal with both. And okay, Andy is in the Triforce room at 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 45 seconds. So the entire race decided by just a little bit more than a minute and a half. Andy winning with a less, about a 90-second and change lead. So that gives, that's about, for this seed, about expected. It's unfortunate that that early loss.
The miss on the bow really kind of threw Christos off. He did a great job of coming back, and his earlier play into Skullwoods would have won him back the game, but Andy kind of immediately took that lead right back with the next place he checked.
I'm gonna see if I can get Chris or Andy to talk. Hyrule Castle. Okay, I see if we can get Chris and Andy into the Discord. Okay, we've got Chris. Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Christos, how's it going, buddy?
Not too bad. That was a really
Okay,
interesting
we've got
race.
Chris.
Hello.
Yeah, really, we were just discussing.
Hey, Christos.
Came down to the. Came down to. Wait, we've got a bit of an echo here, I think.
Came down to the chicken house.
Yeah, I was pretty mad at myself for forgetting that.
That the time loss having to redo Eastern, and then you actually the place where it was an excellent almost comeback moment was your YOLO into Skull Woods.
Yeah.
Which
I was thinking.
Andy,
Sorry, Karen.
no. Which Andy immediately went into Skull Woods right after you. But what were
really?
you thinking at the time? Yeah.
I knew I'd routed pretty poorly this one. It's been a while since I played, so I thought Andy's probably going to have gone to ice at this point. So I was like, I'll do desert and then skull and see if I get lucky. And I did, but it wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, Andy actually was in ice when you were in Skullwoods, but he actually went to Skullwoods immediately after, and found the cane in a relatively short period.
Yeah, like missing the bow wasn't actually too bad because luckily Armos didn't have anything, and it didn't lead to anything else.
Yeah.
So I could have done the whole of Aga's castle, having missed that chest, and then had nothing on the pyramid. So I would have really stuffed me if that happened.
Andy, do you have anything special you'd like to add?
Farming rupees is awful.
Yeah, that was horrible, guys, to watch that.
I had a bit of an issue with money fairly early on. There's a bit of
What did you do for
He was a
that?
bit light on the cash.
I did the intermediate tree rupee for 4 blues, and then the bird was in a blue-red drop cycle.
Oh, I didn't notice that on the bird. I tried all 3 tree price packs.
Yeah,
and
same.
Then I just did the cave in town, like 30 rupees at a time.
I thought about it, and then when I had I miscounted, and I had 455, and I'm like, there's 30 and 15 in town, but there's only 10 in the cave, and so I had to go in the cave an extra time. But it was okay.
So,
Okay.
big thing, guys. This has all been to show off or to prepare for the tournament coming up. Who wants to tell us all about the tournament that's coming up so everyone that's watching can know more about it?
Take it away, Andy.
Okay. We're hosting a casual glitchless Link to the Past randomizer tournament. It starts registration ends on the 27th. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's the 25th.
Yeah, no, 27th is right.
27th, okay.
In 1 week.
Open to all skill levels. It'll be a round robin group stage, followed by a single elimination bracket with the top 2 seeds from each group advancing.
Yep, should be really good fun. I still
There
can't
should be
get over
a
this
link in the
siege,
chat
it's
somewhere,
crazy.
I think.
It was a pretty wild seed with the. I thought it was an interesting seed because it had a required hooking across the river near the broken bridge. Absolutely no way to finish without that. Also, I believe requiring whirlpooling to King Zora.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
It's always interesting. I always love seeds that require creative overworld exploration because you're missing whatever.
Yeah, agreed. I was actually half stumped at the beginning. I got the hammer from Desert and was like, what do I do now?
Same.
Like, I knew Zora was there, but I was like, surely that's not the answer. I was like, just hammer open.
At that point, I had already beaten Eastern because I got bow when I was supposed to. And then I was like, hammer. I misremembered info from your stupid Kaizomizer and went to go hammer the force field and got electrocuted. I'm like, well, I guess I have to farm rupees because there's literally nothing else I can do.
Yeah, your sword has to be removed for you to do that.
Yeah, you have to be swordless.
I think it actually has to be removed, Christos, because I think I've tried it in open mode and it doesn't let you.
Oh yeah, actually that is true. That is true. I forgot what I was gonna say then.
So everyone in chat should definitely sign up for the tournament. It's going to be a blast. It is open to all skill levels. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be in the top 10 if you've never played before, but it is just, it's a lot of fun to play. You'll get ranked in it, and come on, who doesn't want to play an old game from the 90s that's been hacked to high heaven to have more fun?
It is really good fun. Like, I can't tell you how much fun these are to play. So go and do it.
Yeah, and just I'm being told by an SRL mod, no less, that anyone who's interested in playing Randomizer really soon, as in right now, there is indeed an SRL race that's starting now, and SRL B5260.
No time like the present.
Yeah, no time like the present. Get in your practice. If you want to sign up, join the race. It's starting soon, like 5 minutes, you know? If you're not sure how you feel about Randomizer, go ahead and join. It'll be fun.
With the dirty run back, Chris.
I'll wait until I meet you in the semis and knock you out.
Oh,
Wow.
there we go.
Dang.
All right, so I guess is that about it? We have Andy, Christos, our two racers, did a wonderful job. We have Carcat, the lead ROM developer on VTorp. I work on the VT site. We had Sacred Hooves behind the scenes, managing to make sure that this all has been going as smoothly as possible. So thank you very much to everyone who's been involved in this and everyone who's working on the tournament and joined in the tournament.
Yep, absolutely. I completely second that. And just everyone, thanks for tuning in. And, you know, tune in more for the tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of, you know, excitement and drama and all of those wonderful things about tournaments.
So just one last thing, as I'm gonna just put this in there. What is the actual start date of the tournament? What is that date? I know the 27th is the cutoff, which is this Sunday, by the way.
The cutoff for sign up, and then starting on the 28th, you're gonna get your group assignments, your race assignments, and everyone will have 1 week to schedule their match with their opponent. And we're going to be restreaming as many of them as possible right here on twitch.tv/speedgaming. And yeah, you've got 1 week from sign up cutoff. Once you get assigned your partner, just message them presumably on the tournament Discord. You know, the contact information will be exchanged. And then there'll be a form, you put when you're going to be racing, and it's whenever the first race is, probably a few days after that, and we'll just get going from there. But thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been a very fun, very hype race, and it's going to be a very fun, very hype tournament.
Excellent. Thank you guys. Commentary as well. Fizzle and everyone at Speed Gaming for
Absolutely.
restreaming. I'm gonna peace out now, guys. So, until next time.
Christos.
Pleasure to watch you guys race today, and I think I can speak for everyone here. The best way to sign this off is the only way to say it the right way. Ladies and gentlemen, may the way of the hero lead you to the Triforce that is our tournament.